Okay, so today we're diving into something that I think is going to be super relevant to all our listeners out there, especially since, we're here in the heart of NYC.
Right.
We're talking cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity for small businesses. And we've got a whole bunch of articles and reports here.
Yeah.
And honestly, some of the stuff we found was a little bit scary.
A little bit, yeah. I was surprised by some of the statistics.
Yeah. I mean, did you know that like 43% of cyber attacks are aimed at
Right.
small businesses?
It's crazy. It is a big number. And I think that a lot of people have the misconception that cybersecurity is something that you only really have to think about if you're like a big corporation, like you're some kind of multinational.
Right. Like you're in a movie.
Yeah, like you're in a movie, and it's just not true.
Yeah.
It's something that every business owner, no matter how small, needs to be thinking about.
And especially in a city like New York, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think about just how many businesses there are in New York City. I mean,
Right.
it's just this incredibly dense, like target-rich environment for anyone who's looking to, exploit vulnerabilities.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel for these guys.
Yeah.
And they know a lot of these smaller businesses, they don't have
Right.
the budgets. They don't have
the big IT departments.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have the expertise.
No.
So, they're easier targets.
Yeah. And it's a real shame because, the impact of a cyber attack on a small business can be devastating.
Absolutely.
I mean, it can put them out of business.
So, okay, let's get into it.
Yeah.
What are the main threats that we need to be thinking about as small business owners?
I mean, there's a few. There's a few big ones that come up again and again and again.
Yeah.
We've got phishing. I think everyone's sort of familiar with phishing at this point.
Right.
Those emails that looks like they're coming from Con Edison or, your bank.
Right.
Trying to trick you into giving up your password or your credit card information.
That's happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to fall for, too. They're getting really good at making those look legit.
They are, and they're very sophisticated.
Right.
Then you've got things like ransomware.
Ransomware, that sounds bad.
It is bad. So that's where somebody will essentially encrypt all the data on your system.
Oh, wow.
And then they hold it hostage. They say, hey, if you want your data back,
You got to pay up.
you got to pay us a ransom.
Wow.
And then there's malware.
Malware, what is that?
So malware is like a catch-all term for malicious software.
Okay.
And it can do all sorts of nasty things like, steal your data,
Okay.
slow down your computers,
Right.
even allow somebody to take control of your system remotely.
It's like a little gremlin that sneaks in and messes everything up.
It is.
Oh, man.
It is.
So it started to sound like I need to, wrap my entire business in bubble wrap and hide it in a bunker.
Right.
But, okay, what can I realistically do?
Yeah.
I mean, we always hear about strong passwords, two-factor authentication.
Right.
Is that enough? Or is that just scratching the surface?
I mean, those are definitely good starting points.
Okay.
Like a good, strong password and multi-factor authentication.
Right.
It can go a long way toward preventing those phishing attacks that we were talking about.
Okay.
But there's a lot more that you can do.
Right.
I mean, two-factor authentication, for example, it's not just about those SMS codes anymore, right?
Right.
You can use authentication apps that generate unique codes.
Okay.
And these are much, much harder for hackers to crack.
Okay.
And then another thing that people often overlook is backups.
Backup.
So, if you do get hit with a ransomware attack or something like that,
Right.
and your data is encrypted,
Right.
if you've got a good backup,
Right.
you can just restore from that backup and you don't have to pay the ransom.
Okay, so backups are important.
Backups are very important.
Got it. Anything else?
Yeah, I actually I read about this case study in one of the reports where this local bakery in New York,
Yeah.
they got hit with a ransomware attack and they ended up losing like $10,000
Wow.
because they didn't have proper backups.
Ouch. Yeah.
It was a tough lesson for them,
Yeah.
but it highlights how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had to pay to get their data back. They lost business because their systems were down.
Right.
It was a mess.
All right, so we talked about strong passwords. We talked about two-factor authentication.
Right.
We talked about the right kind of two-factor authentication.
Right.
We talked about backups.
Yes.
What else is there?
Well, another thing is keeping your software up to date.
Okay.
I mean, it's really important to install those security updates.
Okay, but how often do you really have to do that? Because that, it's a pain.
I know, it's annoying.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's like getting a flu shot for your computer.
Okay.
right? I mean, those updates are there to patch security vulnerabilities,
Okay.
to protect you from the latest threats.
So it's not just the operating system. It's like
No, it's not.
all the software.
It's everything. I mean,
Yeah.
your web browser, your accounting software, your plugins,
Wow.
everything.
Okay.
It's worth checking out the SBA, the Small Business Administration.
Oh, yeah.
They actually have
That's
some
great.
really good resources for
Yeah.
small businesses in New York City, specifically around cybersecurity.
Oh, that's awesome. What kind of stuff do they offer?
Well, they offer guidance on best practices.
Okay.
They have some risk assessment tools that you can use.
Okay.
And in some cases, they even offer financial assistance
Wow.
to help businesses implement cybersecurity measures.
Okay, that's amazing. So I think I'm getting it.
Yeah.
So we've got to make sure our passwords are super strong. We've got to make sure we're using the right kind of two-factor authentication. We've got to
Right.
back up everything. And we've got to make sure that all of our software is always, up to date.
Up to date.
Did I miss anything?
I think that covers the main points. I mean, it sounds overwhelming,
Yeah.
but even taking a few small steps
Right,
can significantly reduce your risk.
right.
The key is to be proactive,
Right.
not reactive.
Okay,
Right. So don't wait until you've been hacked to start thinking about cybersecurity.
right. Yeah. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly.
And so I think the big takeaway here is that cybersecurity, it's not just an issue for those big companies.
No, it's not.
It's an issue for all of us.
Right.
Especially here in New York City, where everything is so digital. We're living in a digital jungle out here.
We are.
And we all need to be aware of the threats.
Right.
And take steps to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
So if you could do one thing today
Yeah.
to improve your business's cybersecurity, what would it be?
That's a good question. I think, for a lot of people, it could be as simple as just downloading a password manager.
Okay.
Something that will help you create and store strong, unique passwords for all your accounts.
Right, because using the same password for everything is a huge no-no.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a really bad idea.
Okay.
Another thing you could do is enable that extra layer of security on your email, like two-factor authentication.
Right.
These are small things, but they can make a big difference.
It's all about building up those digital defenses, right?
Exactly.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap things up. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into cybersecurity for small businesses in NYC.
My pleasure.
And stay safe out there.
Stay safe.
Don't forget to check out the SBA website for those resources we talked about.
Yeah, good advice.
And until next time, keep those digital defenses strong.
Bye.
See ya. CII.